Good day, students. Welcome to Mathgotserved.com. And this clip, we're going to be going over section 1.7c of our geometry basics virtual text, focusing on how to solve angle pair relationships. This is part 3 of a 3-part series, and we're going to be solving problems where you have to solve for x when you have a situation where two angular values are represented in algebraic format. Don't forget, we have 8 practice problems at the end of this presentation. We'd like you to try it out in order to demonstrate mastery of what we covered in this tutorial. All right, let's take a look at question number 1. The instructions for the examples we're going to be solving are as follows. We're to state the angle pair relationship and find the measure of angle x. All right, so in this problem 1, we have two parallel lines cut by transversal. So what's the relationship between these two angles? Now, since these two angles occupy the same position in these two cluster of angles, same relative position, like the second quadrant, upper left, they are corresponding angles. Okay. All right. So let's write down the relationship. The angles are corresponding angles. All right. So what is the relationship between corresponding angles when you have a linear two parallel lines cut by a transversal? The relationship is that they are congruent. Okay, so this basically implies that the angles are congruent. Okay, so with that in mind, we can formulate an equation just setting these two angular measures equal to each other. Since they're congruent, 4x is equal to 120. Now let's go ahead and solve this resulting algebraic equation. We're going to get x isolated, so just divide both sides by 4, and the value of x in this problem number 1 is 30. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at problem number 2. Don't forget, if you want to review the relationship between the angle pairs and the consequent equation, just visit our website at Mathgotserved.com. We have all the angle pairs, their relationship, and the resulting congruence relationship or other relationships that exist as a result of that. Okay. All right. Let's look at number 2. We have these two angles right here. Let's take a look at them. So if you're taking a look at these two angles, what's the angular relationship between these two angles? In this particular problem, the angles form a linear pair. Okay, let's write that down. The angles are a linear pair. So what does that tell us? What does that imply? Well, if you have linear pairs, that basically means that the angles are supplementary. What is another word for supplementary? Or add up to 180 degrees. That is what a linear pair is, or a supplementary pair of angles. So with that in mind, we can set up the following equation. Since they're supplementary, we know that if we add the first angle, 3x plus 5, and the second angle, 100, that will give us 180 degrees. So let's go ahead and solve this. We can combine like terms. 5 and 100 are constant, so we have 3x plus 105 equals 180 degrees. And then we're going to go ahead and subtract 105 from both sides of the equation. Subtract 105, subtract 105. All right, so we can carry out the calculations. Let's put our line down. We're going to have 3x is equal to, these two add up to 0, 75. And then to get x isolated, we're going to go ahead and divide both sides of the equation by 3, just like we saw with standard algebraic equation. And then we have x equals, 3 goes into 7 twice, carry 1, 3 goes into 15, 5, 25. So x equals 25 is the answer to question number 2. Okay, now let's take a look at number 3. We have these two angles here. What's the relationship between these two angles? Now, if you notice, you have a box right here, that basically indicates that these two angles combined together will give you a quarter of a full circle, or 90 degrees. Okay, so in this problem, the angle pair are complementary, and complementary angles basically are angles that do what? Complementary angles add up to 90 degrees. So don't forget, supplementary adds up to 180 and complementary add up to 90 degrees, okay? So these two angles, 3x plus 1 and 26, they add up to 90 degrees. So let's go ahead and solve this resulting algebraic equation. We can drop the parentheses since there is nothing to be distributed. Equals 90. Now we're going to combine like terms, okay? So 1 and 26 are both constants. We combine those, and we have 3x plus 27 equals 90. And then to get x isolated, we'll just subtract 27 and divide by 3. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and do that. Subtract 27 from both sides. And then that's going to give us 3x is equal to, these two add up to 0. 90 minus 27, you can just go 90 minus 20. That gives you 70, and then take away 7, that's 63, okay? So you have 63, and bring it up over here. 3x is equal to 63. And then what's x? To finish this off, we'll just divide both sides by 3. And that will give us our final answer. X is equal to 21. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the answer to question number 3. All right, let's take a look at problem number 4. So let's start by indicating what the angular relationship is between these two angles. So if you notice that the angles are on the exterior of the two parallel lines, okay, they're on the outside. This region right here is the interior, and they're on different sides of the transversal. One is to the left and one is to the right, okay? So that makes this angle pair alternate exterior angles. So let's go ahead and write this down. The angle pair are alternate exterior angles. Okay, let's write that again. Are alternate exterior angles. Okay, so what does that mean? If you have alternate exterior angles, if you have two parallel lines cut by a transversal, alternate interior angles are congruent. Okay, so the angles are congruent. With that point in mind, we can set up an equation. Let's go ahead and set up an equation. These two angles are equal to each other. So we just set up the equation. 5x is equal to 60. And then to get x by itself, you just divide both sides by 5. And you have your final answer. X is equal to 12. All right. So there goes the answer to problem number 4. Let's take a look at the next one. All right. So in question 5, what's the relationship between these two angles right here? Just like the number 4, they are both on the exterior because they are outside the region bounded. So this area right here is the interior, but they are not there. They're on the outside. So we know that they are exterior angles, but they are on the same side of the transversal. Okay. So if you have angles on the same side of the transversal, namely the left side, and on the outside, they are they are same side exterior angles. Okay. So the angle pair are same side exterior angles. What do we know about same side exterior angles? Same side exterior angles are supplementary. They are supplementary. Another word for supplementary is that they add up to 180 degrees. All right, so we can use that piece of information to set up an equation. Let's go ahead and do that. So the equation we're going to set up is 11x minus 3, the first angle, plus the second angle, 10x plus 15. Since they are supplementary, they add up to what? They add up to 180 degrees, okay? All right, let's go ahead and solve this resulting algebraic equation. Let's combine like terms first, so 11x and 10x. We can combine those two, that yields 21x. And then negative 3 plus 15. Combine those two, that gives you plus 12 equals 180. All right, so now what we're going to do is basically subtract 12 from both sides and divide by 21. And that will result in the isolation of x, and that will be the desired solved state. Alrighty, so we have 21. X is equal to 180 minus 12 is 168. And then to finish this off, we'll just divide both sides of the equation by 12. By 21. Alright, so divide by 21 both sides. This is done. And then you have x equals 21. How many times does 21 go into 168? If you just look at the last digit here, it's 8. So let's try 8. 8 times 1 is 8 times 2 is 16. And that's exactly what we want. So 21 goes into 168 8 times. So 8 goes here 1, 8 goes here, 21 goes here 1, 21 goes here 8 times. Final answer is 8. That is what the value of x is in question number 5. Alrighty, let's take a look at question number 6. Alright, so for question number 6, we have this angle pair right here. If you notice, these two angles are formed by two intersecting lines, so they're opposite angles formed by intersecting lines, so that makes them vertical angles, okay? Alright, so the angle pair are vertical angles. What do we know about vertical angles? I went over this in the first part of this presentation, and you can access everything on the site as indicated before. Vertical angles are congruent, so the angles are congruent, which means they have the same measure. All right, this angle right here is equal to this angle right here. So we can set up the equation. 4x plus 2 is equal to 34. So to get x by itself, we'll just simply do we'll just subtract 2 from both sides and divide by 4, and that will result in the isolation of x. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. Subtract 2 from both sides of the equation, and then you have 4x, the 2's cancel out, equals 32. And then to get x by itself, you just simply divide both sides of the equation by 4. All right, so divide by 4, and then you have x is equal to 8 as the measure of angle x. All right, let's take a look at problem 7. We have 2 more problems before we give you some practice problems to do to demonstrate mastery. All right, let's take a look at 7 for a second. Now, what kind of relationship exists between these two angles that we have right here? This angle and this angle. If you notice, they're between the two parallel lines that are cut by this transversal. So they are interior angles, but they're on different sides of the transversal. So they are alternate interior angles. Okay, so let's write that down. The angle pair are alternate interior angles. So what does that tell us? Alternate interior angles are, the angles are congruent. So with that piece of information, we can go ahead and set up an equation and solve for the value of x. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and set up the equation. Okay, so let's equate them. We have 3x plus 2 is equal to 80. All right, and then to get x by itself, all we'll just do is subtract 2 from both sides of the equation, and then divide by 3. All right, so let's do that. Subtract 2 from both sides of the equation. And then we have 3x is equal to 78. And then divide both sides by 2. No, 3. That's the coefficient of x. And then we're going to have x equals 3 goes into 7 2 times, remainder 1. 3 goes into 18 6 times. So the measure of x, the value of x is 26 units. All right, let's take a look at question number 8, the last one in this installment, and then we'll give you an opportunity to do some practice problems. So what's the relationship between these two angles that we have right here? This angle and this angle on the beneath, these are on the interior of the parallel lines cut by the transversal, and they are also on the same side. So they are alternate, they are same side interior angles. Okay, so the angle pair are same side interior angles. Okay, so what does that tell us about the relationship between them? Same side interior angles are supplementary, so the angles are supplementary. Another word for supplementary is they add up to what? Supplementary angles add up to 180 and complementary angles add up to 90 degrees. So you want to keep that in mind. Okay, so with that piece of information, we can go ahead and set up an equation. Since they add up to 180, we have 10x plus 7 plus 7x minus 7 equals 180. All right, we can combine like terms. 7x and 10x are like terms, so we have 17x, and then plus 7 . All right, let's make a real quick correction here. Let's say this is 17x. Okay, I meant to say 17x, and then I put 7. So let's say it's 10x plus the second angle, let's say is 17x. So 10x plus 17 plus 7x minus 7 equals 180. All right, so the 10x and the 7x combine to 17x. Positive 17 minus 7, you subtract and keep the sign of the bigger, so that'll be plus 10. That's equal to 180. And then to get this solved, we just subtract 10 from both sides of the equation. And that will give us the resulting equation. 17x equals 180 minus 10 is 170. And then we divide both sides by 17. And your final answer is equal to 10. All right, so that's the answer to question number 8. Alrighty, welcome back. Now it's your turn to try out some practice problems. So we have a total of 8 problems that we'd like you to try out. We talked about this at the introduction of this presentation. So we'd like you to pause the video presentation at this time and try out these 8 practice problems. The instructions are the same as before. Identify the relationship and solve for x. So pause this video presentation and solve the problems. When you are done, go ahead and click on the playback button, and we're going to reveal what the correct answers are. All right, so these are parallel lines for number 1, 3, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and try out these problems. Alrighty, welcome back. Hopefully you had a chance to try out the practice problems. Let's take a look at what the answers are. Number one, these are corresponding angles. and x is equal to 13. For number 2, these two angles are a linear pair, and x is equal to 25. For number 3, these two angles are alternate interior angles, and the measure of x is 29. For number 4, these two angles are complementary angles, and the measure of x is 24. For number 5, these are same side interior angles, and the measure of x in this problem, angle number x, not angle x, the value of x is -5. An angle can be, so x is -5. Okay, moving on to number 6. For question number 6, these are also same side interior angles, same side interior angles. And x is 56. For number 7, this pair right here, these angles are same side exterior angles, and the measure of angle x is 6. For number 8, the last one, these two angles are vertical angles, and the measure of x is 13. All right, ladies and gentlemen, how well did you do in these 8 practice problems? Let us know your score in the comment section below. If there are any problems that you like clarifications on, just indicate the problem and what issues you have with it, either in the practice set or in the tutorial. Just let us know, and we'll be more than glad to assist you. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch this presentation. If you found the contents of this tutorial helpful in your studies of geometry, to give us a thumbs up. Your positive feedback are extremely valuable to us. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel. We upload math tutorials to our page on a regular basis. And do visit our website at Mathgotserved.com for access to all the vocab, formulas, and valuable tools that you need to do well in geometry. Thanks again for watching, and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.